Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. Folks, I hope you're enjoying your day. Weather's been kind of weird around here, but very busy inside the building. I want to talk about some old formulas, some old rules, people who get affected by information in the news. Now, I'm talking about the 40 million people who had cards hacked through Target. I happen to have a couple of associates who I know. Both of their accounts were hacked. Wasn't a lot of money, only about $40, but multiply that by 40 million. There's some impact in that. Now, all I'm really going to tell you is that we are in a digital society where things change rather quickly. Michael was talking with me before I came on the podcast to discuss that there's a news story that you could record off of your Android, a CPU, a computer that was functioning nearly at military speed, and it was able to be hacked by recording what was going on through the telephone. Pretty amazing stuff. My message of preserving capital goes very deep. And over the past 5 years or so, as gold has skyrocketed, clients have seen wild aberrations in the marketplace. I've got clients that were buying gold below $1,000 that saw it at $1,900. Some did take the profit in the $1,700 range, missed the top, but you never go broke taking a profit. Well, I listened to people who bought silver and their reluctance to want to continue to buy. Well, I can tell you firsthand, I've got a lot of clients that like to buy silver, and they're still buying in heavily. The rare coin market is fairly well insulated from what's going on out there. Now, for those of you that used to believe that gold and silver were a hedge against inflation, when there's a period of time where there's no inflation out there, gold and silver don't work that way. The amount of speculation has changed the way society looks at gold. Now, I'm not talking about the chain that you buy for the holidays or another piece of jewelry that you're going to get your significant other, but it's really a hedge against the government, because what the government's doing is absolutely absurd. I look at the fact that we're in an economy where things change literally by the moment. And so when somebody says, Brett, what's the value of my 18 karat gold? Well, ballpark, it's 3/4 pure. You're at $800 an ounce. And with a market that has 2% or 4% aberrations, and you're telling me, the state is, that I've got to sit in that position for a couple of weeks, it's a problem. It's a problem because I'm subject to the movement in the marketplace. So when you go into your local neighborhood gold buyer, and there's lots of different companies that buy gold. A lot of them have gone out of business. They didn't realize that this was just a fad, or they had their own upfront business helping out family members or associates who were stealing and dumping material, and they hurried and got out of business before the government came after them. Well, that's not the way it works, and the government obviously knows a lot more about John Doe than he knows about Jane, but ultimately they can find everybody, and they normally do. Now, I don't want to get off focus today. I want to stay really tight to the fact that the market yesterday was all abuzz about how the Fed is going to start tapering. But in the little 90-second clip, if you listen to what Bernanke is talking about, he is talking about long after the unemployment rate hit 6.5%, we will hold true to a low interest rate. Right now, we're at 0. So it doesn't get much worse than that. They're not going to pay us to put money in the bank. It still floors me that we have to pay to have our money in the bank. But a couple of days ago, when I was talking about the 10-year Treasury yield at about 2.85, now at 2.92, the market's starting to change. As tapering becomes the norm and the balance sheet continues to expand because the economic policy of the government is costing you and I, the taxpayers, trillions of dollars. And the government can't sell the balance sheet. They can't get rid of those assets because if they do it and they don't do it properly, inflation will rear up, or worse, you'll see interest rates skyrocket. The brakes will be put onto the economy. Unemployment will skyrocket all over again. And while Bernanke is talking about the current economy and its growth, what they're not solving is the unemployment issue, the long-term unemployed. This is the same thing I keep talking about over and over and over again. Price of oil is rising again. We're not that far from $100 a barrel oil here in Texas, in the country. The traders are doing it. Well, if you look over the last 90-day period, you'll find that the spread between Brent C and West Texas Intermediate has narrowed by almost 10 percentage points. Now, Brent C crude used to, 90 days ago, have about a 20 to a 22% spread. Now, barely 11%. And yes, I keep watching the ratios between gold and platinum and gold and silver, and they're going to trade in their aberrations, and you're going to see the Nikkei skyrocket, and yes, eventually we'll see the Dow at 17,000. Question is, where's that point where it stops, where the market turns around and goes the other way? Folks, rare coins, believe it or not, are the hedge against inflation. They're the hedge against the government. They're the market that hasn't bubbled up the way the art market, the car market, the jewelry market, those markets have all started to move. And so for me, Michael and I talk about the fact that 62% of this generation believes that their children are going to have it worse than they did. 38% think it's going to be better, and I'm not quite sure what they base it off of, but that's not the point. The point is that when you are out doing research and you're gathering your due diligence and you're trying to figure out what the value of an asset is worth, there are so many other variables that get thrown into the equation. I don't want you to tell me I can buy it from here for $31 and you want $31.10. Everyone's entitled to a profit. Experience dictates knowledge. And so having knowledge, I want to educate people. I want you to understand what I'm looking at. Now, bottom line is that I put together 5 original books of coins, and I've owned them for 15 years. And the books themselves are probably worth in the neighborhood, I want to say of about $10.5. To finish the books is an endeavor that would take probably $45,000 to do. And so these are low-grade, low-quality collector coins. Some of the coins that are worth thousands of dollars should be and will be third-party authenticated and graded by either NGC or PCGS. The important factor about the coins is that most of them, the ones that are worth $3 to $10, they're not worth grading. You don't spend $30 to grade a $10 coin, obviously. It's still going to be worth $10. But the coin that's worth $100 or $500 or $1,000, that coin, you might want to consider spending the money. Now, for all of the years that I've owned the books, I look back at the coin market and I realize that over time, more people collect coins than, quote, get rid of them. I know too many clients that have told me they're going to bury them in the safe, they're going to be vacuum packed and put next to the 4th pole on their fence. There's so many different ways of handling this material. But ultimately, it's about what you like. And so I know other dealers who own everything from colonial coins to half cents and large cents to silver dollars to commemoratives, both new and old. Inventories are bulging. And as we get near the end of the year, the deals get stronger, the deals get better. You can get a bigger discount because nobody wants to have to, quote, claim it on their tax return. Now, it does allow for some really great deals. And, as I look at information and I talk about some of the bubbles, a diamond that sells for $80 million, a painting that commands $142 million, a Ferrari that sells for $14 million, a stainless steel 1969 Rolex Daytona, that's a watch, that commands over $1 million. It's not that the watch is going to be worth $5 million someday. Maybe it will and maybe it won't. But you know what? Dollars have lost 97% of their value in 100 years. With any luck, you and I won't be here in 100 years. But your legacy will be. Your children's children, your great-grandchildren, if we don't all manage to kill ourselves, then they'll have to deal with what we've created. And that's part of the problem. I mean, don't forget, a month ago I was talking about the Art Week up in New York, and Christie's alone did over $690 million in art. It's not like it's rare. Heck, I was having dinner a week ago, and a conversation over 30 pieces of art to a company that was going to expand on a worldwide basis, the 30 pieces, worth somewhere in the neighborhood of about $200,000. The final check might be $100,000, maybe even a hair less. Look, value is a perception, and that perception becomes reality. So for me, when I suggest to clients that they get their hands on a red book and they look at building a portfolio of coins, it's sometimes about the barterable material. Now, I can tell you that I've read certain companies talking about where they really felt like gold or silver could drop down to the bottom, the floor, the cost of production. I saw balance sheets that ranged from $1,000 to $1,200. For a company to say the cost is $600 an ounce to produce it, okay, that means everybody else is wrong and they're all cooking the books, or these guys are trying to raise money for their stock and they're going to cook the books. Either way, somebody's lying out there. The technology isn't so advanced that one company's got a market on the technology. So you can go out there and bet the reserve, you can go out and bet the stock, you can go out and bet the tangible asset. A proper mix, the more you learn about rare coins, the more you understand the nuances of what makes a coin valuable or doesn't make a coin valuable, isn't a question of looking at an online auction site. It doesn't work that way. And you can argue with me or your spouse or another dealer until you're blue in the face. I can tell you that I've met people over time that have owned some of the most classic $20 gold pieces that there are. I can tell you clients that have owned some of the greatest copper coins that there are. And all told, when all of these people come together, you stand on a bourse floor, that's our term for the coin show. You stand on a bourse floor and you watch thousands of transactions take place over a 3 or a 4 day time span. Checks are converted, wire transfers take place, rare coins, common coins, doesn't really matter. What matters is understanding that it's all about diversification. It's all about understanding different types of material are necessary in an economy that's being manipulated constantly. I love high-grade coins. There's no doubt about it. I love low-grade coins. The question is, what you own, is it a value or is it just something to liquidate and let go of? Material is recognizable. People stash it all the time. People steal it all the time. And I've had plenty of people come into my store and say, Brett, I've had a break-in. Here's the case number. If any of this stuff comes across your counter, man, please let law enforcement know. Well, I'm good with that. And ultimately, it's a situation where this is a commodity that's always liquid. When material is NGC or PCGS graded, it gives you the flexibility of liquidity. I don't want people to tell me that they're in the stock market and it's liquid. It's not liquid. It's a 3 to 5 day waiting period minimum to get the settlement. From the 3 to 5 days, you could wait more than a week or two. And in the middle of the holiday season, trust me, you don't think things are bad? Why would retailers stay open for 80 to 100 hours straight, hoping that you're going to straggle in the middle of the night to do business? Because they need the doors open and they need to do the transactions. The dollar is worthless. Their advertising is expensive. You'll see more time on TV and radio, newspaper ads, all that stuff. Gosh knows the pop-ups when you're surfing the internet are horrid. Anyway, there is a value and a design, something that everybody likes. And so when I tell people to get to a red book, it's to decide what you like, what looks like something you'd want to own. Because the bottom line is, it's the future collectors and investors, the collectivestors, that I'm honing in on. That's the way this plays out. And so when I look at the value of gold, I can tell you that 100 years ago, they had $20 gold coins because an ounce of gold was priced at $20. Over time, gold has gone up to a level that we've seen the gain nearly tenfold. Now, I remember gold at $250 basically in 1999. I've seen it at $1,924. And I've read the stories about gold trading down at $20. I remember clients that came to visit me when I worked for another company, literally who would come in with books full of gold coins. And so, the coins were here, quote, technically illegally, but nobody was looking to confiscate, and nobody was looking to talk about it. Of course, nobody pulled them out either. So today, gold is trading around $1,190. That's the bid side. The ask side is around $1,193. It's been as high as $1,207 today. And tomorrow, I can't tell you what the metal's going to do, except that, the good Lord willing, there will be another trading day. I can tell you that watching the stock market's up about 16 points. Relatively flat, new ground, of course, made again. The dollar's weak. The same currency play is on. The pound, the yen, the Chinese currency, and the Canadian dollar still trading up as the dollar has gone down. Everything else is down. And so the best news, the absolute best news that I can tell any of my clients, those of you that took the diversification play, that inside of your portfolio where you owned precious metals and rare coins, you own semi-numismatic coins, and you own some really rare coins, I can tell you point blank, the rarer the coin, the less the market volatility has affected you. I've got a client up in the Conroe area. His name is Jeff. Jeff doubted me for weeks at a time over owning 1991 half-ounce gold American Eagles between $2,700 and $3,000. They're hard coins. You can't pick up a phone and buy 10 of them today. Look at the proofs, you might, but the BUs, the mint state coins, 65 or better, they're not out there. You're not buying 10 of them. It's not going to happen. Unless your broker, the guy who you're working with, happens to have a client who says, you know what, I paid $300 a piece, I'd take $2,500 a day. You flip them out, you make 10 to 15 points, and you're a pretty happy camper about your trade. Folks, there's a reason to own rarity, and dealers are buying heavily. They're borrowing heavily. They're getting partnership deals together to own inventory. And why? Because more of you will find our market, and the more of you that do, if you're the right dealer and you know how to hone in on a market, See, there's dealers that hone in on a market and they stay solid. There are other dealers that want to own lots of different kinds of coins, and there's 9,000 different pieces that come in 20 different qualities. So you're dealing with a market that's 180,000 across and billions of coins deep. You can own a lot of neat stuff. The bottom line is the liquidity factor. And eventually, you own things that other people want. It's always liquid. Question is, are you going to sell it for so much less than what it's worth? Because if you do, odds are you stole it. And the bottom line is when you buy something right and you pay fair prices for it, you'll get fair prices on the other side of it. Education is king. Anyway, if you've got questions, I would encourage you to call me. You can call toll free, that's 877-705-2646. You can call the local line, that's 281-548-COIN. Hit option 0, that way you won't get caught in the phone system. You can go to the meltdown.com. There are, gosh, Michael, how many shows are we at now? Any idea?
Total?
He's going to tell us as we speak. I know that we've got in excess of 500 archived. That probably accounts for well over 400 hours, depending on how Michael set it all up. But you can listen to a show from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 weeks ago, 6 months ago.
Almost 600. We'll be 600 before the end of the year.
600 shows before the end of the year, approaching 400 hours of audio. Take some notes. Listen to a newer show. And see that the message isn't about gloom and doom, it's about education and reality, hedging your bet, realizing that things change. Tapering is a major event. There was a network that made Wednesday sound like it was going to be a seriously major event. Well, the bottom line to the seriously major event is that things did happen yesterday. The market doesn't really care about it today. That's what I can tell you. Gold is going to have a test as low as $1,000. If it goes any lower than that, the buy signal is hard. JP Morgan is involved. And when you see large banks taking large positions, literally a 20% paper position in the whole futures market, that's pretty serious. They're not accustomed to losing money. Bottom line is, you hedge your bets. I hedge it within the hedge. I prefer a 40% rare, a 40% semi-rare, and a 20% position in precious metals, whether it's a third, and a third, or whatever your flavor is for designing your own portfolio. I'd like to have your business. You can go to the Meltdown, you can listen to the shows, you can email me. Heck, if you register with Ustream, that's how we stream our podcasts. You can chat with me live as we do the show. Anyway, folks, I appreciate you listening in. I never get off my podcasts now without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. If you go to themeltdown.com, click on either of the donation banners, you'll get the information in the form of a receipt for your tithe or your offering, whether it's to the Meyer Center, which is the Downs Clinic, or the Ronald McDonald House within Texas Children's Hospital. If you can provide a hot meal for 40 to 60, maybe 80 people, please call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. I appreciate the doctors, the nurses, the staff, and of course the volunteers at Texas Children's throughout the medical center, throughout the world. Kids need our help, and God love the kids. Anyway, I appreciate you listening in. We'll be back tomorrow, probably between 8:30 and 9:30. Michael will get the show put up. Have a great evening. God bless you. Stay warm out there. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.